We're talking about whether younger people feel they have any stake in the system, whether they should feel they have any stake in the system, quite frankly, given that they are probably going to be worse off than their parents. Keep calling in 0345 60 60 973. Lots of you have done already. We've got a full board of calls here. A few texts I want to get through too, because so many of you have texted in. This person says, I'm 42. The previous generation worked to save. Our generation works to survive. But Jason in Plymouth says, moan, moan, moan. The country has never had it so good. Nikki from Kent says, I am a hated baby boomer, but I'm sick of having all the world's ills laid on our shoulders. In 1990, I lost my tiny house because of interest rates going up to 17.5%, and people were just throwing their keys in at the banks and building societies. I'm 69 and still working. And this person says, Paul, my daughters do not have the opportunities I had, mainly down to property prices versus salaries, sucking so much money and lack of full-time professions. There is no reason for them to believe in a future in a country where political parties focus on older voters and blame the young. Thanks so much for all of your texts. Keep them coming in this morning. Let's talk to Christina, who's in Falmouth. Good morning to you, Christina.
Hi.
Thanks so much for phoning in. Do you think younger people should feel they have a stake in the system?
No, I don't think they do. But what makes me upset is the way people say that it's because they're spending money on avocados and Netflix. I'm 59, my daughter's 28. And what they have to pay for. So I was a student nurse in the 80s in London. I got paid for doing it. None of this borrowing money to train on the wards. I got paid for doing it. I got subsidised accommodation. I had a very nice life. I could go out. I could go out for drinks with my friends. I could afford some package holiday once a year if I wanted that. I had free eye care. I had free dentistry if I'd have needed it, which I didn't at the time, but I would have had free mental health care support. And then when I left nursing, I went and did a degree, which again, I didn't have to borrow money for. I did a 3-year degree and I came out £200 in debt. I did work a bit during it, doing nursing. I then did an MA, which again, I didn't have to pay for. So when I started earning, the money wasn't that high, but it covered me. I could go to the theatre, I could do what I wanted to do. I mean, avocados hadn't been invented then.
I think they had been. I think the planet had invented them. It's just they weren't widely eaten in the UK.
Yeah. But I had an okay life. And I look at my daughter. She's 60 grand in debt. She's worked. She's never not worked. Yeah. She's 60 grand in debt. If she needs any medical care, she has to pay for it because she can't get access to a GP. She's just had to pay £3,000 to have a tooth filled. And, you know, her father died recently and she needed some mental health support. She had to pay £60 an hour for that. So it's not the avocados and Netflix that are busting them. It's the collapse of the welfare state.
Yeah,
and of subsidising them. So when I was, I met my later to be husband. He was an artist. He didn't earn any money. Well, to start with, he did later. I was on about 25 grand a year, and we bought a flat in Clapham. You know, for 50 grand.
Yeah,
and
so double your salary, whereas now it would be like 12 times the salary to buy a house.
She's earning 4 times what I do. They can't afford to buy a place. She's with a partner. They've just gone into rented accommodation where, get this, they have to pay rent for the cat. It's £30 a month extra if you want a cat. And it just, no, I'm not joking.
That's bizarre.
It is bizarre. So it feels like they're being shafted at every corner. The student loan is going up and up. So she's effectively paying another 10% tax to pay back her student loan, as is her boyfriend. And, you know, people that say, oh, they're lazy, oh, they're they're entitled. They're not. They're working really hard. She's got a good job. She earns she's earning more money than I ever have. But she's poor. The cost of transport in London. And I think we just need to remember that we did have it very lucky. You know, we did have it good. I'm not rich, but I'm okay. But I certainly haven't got chunks of money to give them for a deposit on a house. Okay. And I think we just need to stop battering them a bit.
Yeah. Christina, thank you. I can already see people texting in my imagination saying, don't get a cat. That's the problem with this generation. They all expect to have a cat. If they didn't have a cat, they could put that £30 towards a deposit for a house. Let's talk to Trinda, who's in Finchley. Hi, Trinda.
Oh, good morning, Paul. Thank you for taking my call. As I was saying to your researcher and a couple of your previous callers, saying they work so much harder now, not in a million years. Some do, but I certainly work and I did 4 jobs. I lived in a room. I got married. We saved. We lived on literally eggs, baked beans for a month, and we had boxes. When we first moved into the flat, we had a bed, but it was very, very tough. But it wasn't poor me, poor me. Today, unfortunately, people are like snowflakes. Everything what they want given to them, and they still want the good life.
Is that true? They just want what their parents had. That's the difference, Trinda. Is that I don't presume to know your age, but I bet you had more than your parents had.
My parents died when I was 7. My aunt brought me up, very tough, and I had to keep myself from the age of 16. I got a room, and I was a dancer. Mm-hmm. I went to the Royal Ballet School, but that didn't give me any money. I still had to pay rent, and I lived literally on bread and marge, cornflakes. I had it tough, but I didn't think it was poor me, as my sisters
but that's
were
because,
the same.
But is that though, Trinda, because you had faith that things would get better? And the difficulty for younger generations now is they don't think they will be better than their parents were. I did 4 jobs,
and I managed to save for a deposit. I worked 4 jobs till I was 74, and I got a heart condition.
Okay.
But today, even I have to say, my granddaughter, who's lovely, 21, went to uni, dropped out. She's got a brilliant job, earns an arm and a leg, and lives with her parents, and she doesn't save a penny. Not a penny.
Well, what's she spending it on then?
Today,
avocado?
Today, yeah, exactly. Today, and they want all the holidays. And they say, why should I do without my holidays? Why should I do?
That's because they look
houses that I can afford.
Because they look at the generations above them, Trinda, and they don't want to have less than what the generation above. So foreign holidays have been common practice for decades now. Lots of people have been able to expect, even if it's just a trip to Benidorm, a few £100, as it was in the 2000s. But that was what you could expect from a normal year if you were on a normal income. You could expect a modest foreign holiday. Whereas, why should they expect any less than what the generations before them had?
No, to me, they're getting much more. I'm sorry. It's poor me. And the people with these mental health so much since COVID, and the lady before, whose daughter had the 60,000, I never, ever, I didn't have credit cards years and years ago, but when I did, I always paid it off, even if I had to live on bread and cheese or whatever. I made sure I never had any interest.
Yeah, but a lot of it's student debt now, isn't it? Because they have to pay student fees, tuition fees.
We had to pay lots of other things as well. We did.
Okay.
In fact, I got divorced, and I was I paid for my son to go to private school.
Okay. All right, Trinda, thank you for your call. So Trinda's pretty upset about this suggestion that younger generations have somehow got it harder. You heard what Trinda said there, and I think lots of people of her generation will respect that she scrimped and saved. She didn't have much. These days, people expect to be able to have everything, don't they? She moved into a house, as she said. She lived out of boxes for quite a while, whereas these days everyone wants to walk into a fully furnished flat, don't they? Does Trinda have a point?